So get this. My mother-in-law, she hates me because, well, she's racist. But guess what? She's crawling back now after she got me and her baby boy divorced. And she wants me to come back into the family, and you guys will not ever guess why.
Oh boy, I need advice. I've been putting up with my racist white mother-in-law for months, and my husband refuses to do a darn thing about it. I don't even feel safe in my own home anymore. And what's worse is that she's actively trying to ruin my marriage. For some context, I met my husband Andrew in my senior year of college. He was getting his master's in business management, and I was studying data science. At first, we would just hang out with a friend group, but eventually he asked me to hang out alone, and oh boy, we hit it off. We ended up dating for 2 years. During this time, I noticed he did not talk about his family very much. I knew that they owned a business that he would help run after he graduated, and I even knew a few members of his family knew of me, but I'd never met one of them. By this time, he had met my family a couple times by now, and yeah, they live out of town. But my mom and sister would drive up sometimes just to visit me, and his family lives in the States. And every time I asked if we could go and meet them, he would make some excuse. He says his mom is sick and tired, and she has some autoimmune disease and gets sick often, so they're weary about people being around. I just accepted this excuse for far too long, perhaps, but when things got more serious, he started saying he's planning to meet his family with me. I knew he had a mom and an older brother who was a doctor, so I asked him what kind of stuff they liked so I could bring them a gift. I was working at the time, and I was good for it. The day before we went to his mother's house, he took me out into an expensive restaurant for dinner, and then took me out on the bay and even proposed. It honestly was the happiest moment of my life. The next night, we went into his mother's house for dinner. It was going to be the 4 of us, me, him, his mom, and his brother Tyler. Well, we got inside and he introduced me to everybody, and his mom got visibly upset and left the room. Tyler left to go check up on her, and I asked Andrew, what's wrong? He said his mother was just probably not feeling too well. Well, when his brother came back down, he looked really annoyed and said his mom would not be joining them for, not for the rest of the dinner. I was feeling a bit confused at this point, but I did not push it. The dinner ended up being lovely, and even though it was a bit awkward, we went back to Andrew's place. I asked him about what happened because I was still weirded out by it. But he tells me not to worry about it and that I'd have plenty of time to meet his mom. I let it go, mostly because we were planning a trip to meet my family and tell them the news, and after that, we went straight into the planning period of the wedding. My mom and sister would help mostly. And while I did ask Andrew if his mom wants to be a part of this, he said that she's not that kind of person to be into this type of stuff. And she gets tired easily anywho, because of her sickness, so she probably would want to stay out of it. Well, I was feeling kind of frustrated, honestly, so I asked his brother if there was any way I could reach out to their mother to ask if she was interested in helping with the wedding. Come on. He asked me if I was sure about that because his mother made it clear that she did not want anything to do with me. And she wasn't even speaking to Andrew. Well, I asked him why. Well, he said he thought Andrew would have told me. I went to his place that night, and I was absolutely livid, demanding to know what's going on, and he said his mother has, and I quote, reservations about my upbringing, which sounded absolutely stupid. After hounding him for a while, he finally broke and said his mother did not want a black daughter-in-law. So she was straight up a racist. I asked him when he planned on telling me this, and he said that he was trying to deal with his mom and did not want to stress me out with it. He said he was trying his best to get her to see how wonderful I am, and that I should just trust him to handle her. So I did. We went ahead with the wedding, and it was great. His mother came, but she refused to be in any of the pictures and asked to go home right after the ceremony, and I think it was better that way, because honestly, she was putting a damper on everything. Since then, I haven't had to see her much, and it was only in passing that we've visited her every year since Christmas, and every time she would completely disregard me or just give me these nasty looks. It didn't bother me too much because I didn't have to put up with her for long. I also did not want to dictate what Andrew's relationship with his mother should be. I felt bad that she stopped talking to him after our engagement, and I didn't want to get in the way of them mending their relationship, and he said he was going to do his best to check on his mother's behavior, and I believed him. Well, that was 6 months ago. Andrew's brother came to us and said his mother was having more frequent flare-ups and could not be left alone for far too long. So she needed somebody in the household with her for most of the day. And, especially at nighttime. Well, he suggested, why don't we just go ahead and get a caretaker? But his mother said she didn't want a stranger in the house with her, so Andrew's brother couldn't do it. He worked long hours and his schedule was oftentimes unpredictable. So she asked if she could move in with us. Well, honestly, at that point, I was absolutely baffled, because I was sure this woman hated my guts. Why would she want to come and live with me? At first, I figured maybe she had a change of heart, or that Andrew had gotten through to her. See, Andrew and I had a long talk about it, and we agreed to let her move into the guest room. I worked a 9-to-5 as a data scientist, but Andrew is helping run his family's company, and kinda gets to set his own schedule. He also hired a nurse to come in a few times a week just to check up on his mom. For the first month, everything was fine. Everything. She has her own bathroom, so I didn't even have to see her. Then she started getting very, very passive-aggressive towards me out of the blue. Sometimes when I would go take her dinner, I would hear her on the phone blabbing about, who I assume are her friends, openly calling me, a very, very slur word, and saying that she's going to make her son see the light and dump me. I went to my husband with all my concerns. He told me just ignore his mother. She was old and set in her ways, and nothing we said to her would make her change. I asked him if he was fine with his wife being abused by his own mother in her own home. I told him this was not fair to me, and that my home should be somewhere safe for me to reside and not have to deal with his mother's violent words. He told me I should just drop it because he was not going to kick his mother out, not at any condition. I was so upset because on every other occasion he's been understanding of my concerns, but now he was being dismissive, and it felt as though he was choosing his mother over me. Guys, please bear in mind, I don't have any family members in this state. Maybe a few friends, but no one I could really just go to with these concerns. What's making me consider leaving is an incident that happened the other day. My mother-in-law, she went on Instagram. She took screenshots of one of my coworkers commenting on some of the photos and tried to use that as evidence that I was cheating on Andrew. She made it seem as if the coworker was commenting on every single photo, when it was really a few. Even going as far as to the doctor, some of the comments in Photoshop. She took the evidence to Andrew and tried to embarrass me in front of him, saying that she's been secretly collecting all this evidence. Well, okay, woman. I simply popped open my Instagram on my phone right then and there and told him he could browse as much as he liked. He took my phone and scrolled through it, and he even did it for like 10 minutes, and my mother-in-law started getting agitated and said I probably deleted everything just to avoid accountability. Well, come on, I pointed out that she explicitly said that she's been doing this secretly, so how would I have known to delete the comments? Come on. Also, some of the posts she doctored were from months back. On top of all that, Andrew follows me on Instagram and sees what I post on a daily, and what people comment, so he's already seen these. In the end, he told his mother to give it a rest. And I asked if, I was going to get an apology at least for this, and she just waltzed off. I asked if he was going to do anything about this, and he said his mother is just bored and doesn't have anything better to do with her time, and again, I should just ignore her. Yeah, ignore her in my home. I told him it's hard being in the same house as someone who openly hates me for something I can't control. And what's worse, she was trying to drive a wedge between us, and he told me no wedge was driven between us. I needed to stop being so paranoid. But now, I just don't know what to do. I've been spending more and more time away from home because I don't feel safe and happy in my own home anymore. Andrew has been nothing but a caring, devout husband up until his mom moves in, and now I feel like I don't even know him anymore. What should I do here? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Oh boy, a mother-in-law drama of the ages today. It looks like the mother-in-law's getting progressively worse, but wait a second. Let's check out a couple comments before we hop into the first post. And by the way, if you guys are new to the channel, go ahead, click that little subscribe button underneath this video. It does support the channel tremendously. Thank you. And by the way, if you hit that bell notification as well, YouTube's gonna tell you when another story pops up. Here's the first comment before we hop into update number 1, and it says, "It seems like your brother-in-law is the only sane person in the family, so maybe go to him for advice. It seems like there's more going on here, and I don't want to be the guy who screams divorce, divorce, divorce. Because this is just a tiny glimpse into your life and your relationship. That being said, your mother-in-law's being a total, well, yeah. And it angers me that your husband is so dismissive of her awful behavior. You need to stand up for yourself in all honesty." Comment number 2. OP, come on. You're in a hell of your own making. Let's not be fake here. And I don't feel sorry for you. From the moment you find out your mother-in-law was a racist, you should have walked away. Too many people marry into horrible families and then act all shocked when they're treated horribly. I mean, also, I hate to break it to you, but your husband hates your guts. I mean, only your enemy would bring a literal Nazi into your house to torment you for half a year and then gaslight you into thinking everything's fine. Update number 1. Well, lots happened since I first updated. Oh boy, where do I start? For those of you who are asking, Andrew's father left them and their mother when they were teenagers. I don't know about divorce or any of that stuff because it seems like a super sensitive topic. I guess he and his brother just don't have a relationship with their father anymore. Well, I decided to take advice from people here and I contacted Tyler. He agreed to meet for lunch. And I poured out my frustrations to him, and he told me my feelings were oh so valid, and that I should not be letting their mother treat me like garbage in my own home. He said he would have a talk with Andrew and his mom because he thinks that his mom begged for at-home care because she wanted to meddle with me, and Andrew, of course, and not because she was getting worse. Well, I thanked him. Then I went home, and guys, over the next few days, there was no change in Andrew or his mom. And then, just magically almost 2 days ago, well, I get in from work and Andrew and his mother were sitting in the living room. Andrew says he wants to talk. He says things have not been going great in our marriage, and he needs to consider other options, and I asked him if his mother has any single thing to do with this, and he says yes, she does. He also has to consider his mother's feelings and wishes, and you know, she's getting old and he would rather see her happy. Also, there's another woman. There's another woman in his life who he believes he would be happier with. He then handed me divorce papers and told me I have exactly 30 days to get the heck out of his house. What? I was devastated. I mean, I was so angry. I wanted to yell, but I did not. I didn't want to just give in. Especially his mother, the satisfaction of seeing me upset? I can't take it. I picked up the papers and I left, and I stayed over at my friend's house. They helped me plan my exit, and I hired some movers and got my stuff out there as quick as possible. And, you know, I have a sizable savings, so I was able to get my own place fairly quickly, and I guess I'll move in next week. I spoke to Tyler about what happened. He was super apologetic, and even though none of it was his fault, he said that he found out that Andrew's been cheating on me with his secretary, and that he told Andrew to tell me or else he would. Apparently, Andrew's also been a bit of a mama's boy, and that brief period where his mom wasn't speaking to him, it must have affected him more than he let on. Since then, he's been doing everything to get back into his mom's good graces. He tells me I should not blame myself because none of this is my fault. Andrew is awful for the way he treated me, and I do deserve better. Well, you know what? I agree, but I'm not going to fight this divorce. I mean, I still have both rings on my fingers, and I can just sell them and try my best to forget this marriage ever happened. I've already told my family, my mom and my sister, and they're driving down to help me get my stuff and settled into my new place. I'll update you if anything else happens. How can you guys read this and not be angry with this man and his mom? As a man, he's supposed to protect his wife, yes, even from his own family. That idiot wants his mother's approval so badly that he just threw his wife and marriage away. And now he's divorcing her to appease this crazy woman. He's incredibly spineless, and I feel bad for her. I mean, at least she has a very supportive family in her corner to help her get through this mess. I'm not going to just berate her for not leaving sooner because I don't know the full dynamics of their relationship, but I hope she bounces back. Guys, that was the top comment from the first update. Let's check out update number 2 because you know what? This is crazy, but update 2 came out a few years later. Update number 2. Hey, it's been a few years since I've posted here, but I wanted to give an update because something interesting happened. First, I've been doing well. A year ago, I got a promotion and met the man I'm currently dating. He works for a different branch of my company, but after we hit it off, he asked for a transfer. I've already met his family, and they're wonderful. I didn't think I'd be with anyone after Andrew. Not after he hurt me. But here we are, and I guess I'm trying to take things a day at a time and not rush into a marriage like I did last time. But anyways, here's what happened. I was just sitting at home on a Saturday, minding my own business, when there was a knock at my door. I checked my Ring doorbell camera, and who do I see? My ex-mother-in-law. To say I was shocked would be an understatement, and I don't know how she found my address. Part of me wanted to pretend I wasn't even home. But on the other hand, she had to be desperate as hell to show up at my door. I can't lie, she looked rough. Like a lot rougher than when I last saw her. I opened up the door and asked her what she wanted, and she asked to come inside, but I told her no. Whatever she wanted, she needed to tell me right then and there and make it quick because I have stuff to do. She starts vomiting at me, telling me I need to get back and be with Andrew because his new wife was unable to have kids. Tyler was engaged, but neither he nor his partner wanted children, and she could not get him to change his mind, and she knew Andrew and I were going to have children eventually. And I had gotten fertility tests to make sure I was good to go with the time frame. She had gotten also telling me I should come back and have a kid with Andrew because she didn't want her bloodline to end. I closed the door in her face without even saying another word. She starts banging on my door, screaming like a crazy person, calling me an ungrateful woman. So much so that the neighbors eventually came outside and threatened to call the police if it didn't stop. Eventually she left, and afterwards I called my boyfriend to tell him what happened. He didn't believe it until I showed him the doorbell footage. I had no idea why she thought I would just drop everything to run back to Andrew and be his breeding mare. And she hates black people, so why would she want a black child to carry on her legacy anywho? You know, to me, it made absolutely no sense. Well, my boyfriend came over to stay with me for the rest of the weekend in case she came back. I was curious about what was happening with Andrew and his new wife. While I didn't care about those people anymore, I do love a little bit of a mess. So I sent Tyler a message and told him what happened, and he was away on a trip with his partner but sounded appalled by his mom's behavior. He said things with Andrew and his new wife have not been going very well, and we should meet when he gets back to talk because it was a lot. Anyways, I'll update you guys when I figure out what happens. Update number 3, I met Tyler. Oh boy. Well, I had my meeting with Tyler, and it was crazy. My boyfriend went with me because he wanted in on the drama, I'd say. We're both messy. Anyways, Tyler said Andrew and his secretary have been seeing each other before he and I got married. She had been so salty that he chose me over her and kept trying to seduce Andrew into sleeping with her again, quote, like old times. And for a while, Andrew was able to stave off her advances. Well, that didn't last long, though, and they started sleeping together again. My ex-mother-in-law found out about this and was happy. She pressured Andrew into dumping me and marrying the white secretary. Instead, it took a lot of nagging, but he finally caved when his mother fed him a sob story about how she probably would not live for much longer and how doing this would make her oh so unhappy. Tyler said he tried to talk some sense into his brother, but he seemed dead set on his ways. He washed his hands of the situation and decided to go out of contact with the family. Andrew and his secretary got married, and I'd say 6 months after the divorce? She moved in right away. Tyler was invited, but decided he didn't want to go, and Tyler said he only hears little things about them here and there from people who work in the company. He refuses to work there because his mother has always been messy and controlling, and which is one of the reasons why their father left, apparently. She's been bitter about it ever since and expresses that by being clingy with her sons, and Tyler says he still has a relationship with their father, but their mom doesn't even know about it. That's actually who he went to visit with his partner. His dad lives down in the Caribbean with his new wife and their daughter, and it just seems like they're really happy. He heard that some things have been going at the family business. They had several all-hands-on-deck meetings this week alone, and his mom is also not living with Andrew anymore. But he hasn't gotten a chance to talk with her. Apparently, she moved in with her uncle about 3 months ago. She had sold her other house when she moved in with Andrew and me, so there was no going back from there. Tyler said he spoke with Andrew the other day and asked him how things were going, but Andrew said he didn't want to talk about it because he knew Tyler would rub it in his face. Oh, that was all he knew for now. I promised myself I would stop thinking or talking about Andrew once the divorce was final, but I'm so invested in this drama, I want to know more. Is it bad that I'm taking joy in the family's downfall? Both he and his mom were so awful to me that it's just great to see karma catch up with them. Update number 4. Oh my gosh. You guys will never guess who showed up at my house. Yes, Andrew. Yes, Andrew. He came by last and asked to talk, and luckily my boyfriend was there and asked if I wanted to make him leave. I told him, oh no, it's fine. Andrew asked if we could talk privately, and I told him whatever he has to say to me, he has to do it in front of my man. Well, he reluctantly agreed, and he said things have been awful since the divorce. His mother forced him into a marriage with someone he didn't truly love. For the first month, things were fine, but then Stephanie, that's her name, started making demands. She didn't want to work anymore, so he had to give her an allowance and buy her a new car. She also demanded that he kicks his mother out of the house because she was sick and tired of mother-in-law always snooping around. Also, she said she felt like Andrew should not be the one taking care of her, and she, quote, did not seem that sick anyways. He tried to explain to her that his mom had nowhere to go. But Stephanie persuaded their uncle to take her in, and she also wanted to sell the house that they were currently living in. Of course, for something much, much bigger and better for entertaining. You know, when they got married, he had to spend a bunch of money to fly her family in, accommodate them, and it just blew a hole in his savings, so he doesn't have enough money for the down payment on the luxurious house that she's been craving. Later on, they started talking about having children, and she said she would not have kids with him unless he gave her shares in the family business, because she wanted to be secure in case anything happened to him. Well, he didn't want to do it, and she went to his mother, threatening divorce, and his mom said that they need to stay married, just to keep up appearances. He could not have 2 failed marriages or marry another girl. So, he, had to relent and go ahead and give her the shares. Then after a year of trying, they found out she can't even have kids, something she knew from the get-go. Now he wants a divorce despite his mother's wishes, but she refuses to budge, and she won't leave the house or she won't sign the papers, so they've had to fight the divorce out in court. She's threatened to clean him dry for the way that he treated her, and she also has proof that he only used her for appearances and didn't really love her. Now he's worried that he's about to lose everything. Andrew apologized to me for the way he acted and for letting his mom torture us during our marriage. He said he still loved me and wanted to reconcile, but it's clear that I moved on. Me and my boyfriend looked at each other and burst out laughing. Even if I wasn't with someone, there's no way I was going to reconcile. Hell, I may not even let him inside. I told him if he had nothing else to say, he better leave. At the door, he asked if he could call or drop over for coffee sometime, quote, like we used to. I told him if he came back to my house, I would file a restraining order. But wait, there's more. So Tyler calls me the next day and said that his mom asked him to help her look for surrogates. When he brought up the divorce, she gets upset and said Andrew was not getting a divorce because that would reflect poorly on the family business, especially since he's been openly flaunting his new wife in front of their partners. This is so wild because Andrew's wife kicked her out of their own house, knowing she didn't have anywhere else to go. But her excuse is that she can't afford for the shares Andrew signed away to leave the family. Andrew did not sign a prenup, so there's opens a whole can of worms. Tyler said Andrew still is not speaking to him, so he doesn't know that his brother's next move is what. And that's it. I haven't heard anything else from Andrew or his mother, and guys, I hopefully never will. My boyfriend and I have been happier than ever, and I'm just taking life one day at a time. Thank you, everybody who took the time out to read and give advice, but you know what? I think this saga is over. Top comments from the final post. Comment number 1 says, I'm glad that you got the heck out of that family. Those people are insane. I don't blame your ex-brother-in-law for going out of contact with them. Also, what did they expect you to do when they showed up on your doorstep and gleefully went back to being abused by a racist? This is what they wanted, your ex-husband, and having the audacity to come crying to you after caving to his mother's wishes? If he would just grow a pair and put his foot down once, he would not be in this mess. And honestly, he deserves to lose everything after what he put you through. I just feel sorry for whatever woman his mother chooses to be his breed, and of course gives him a baby, for the mental strain this insane family is about to put on that poor woman. Final comment. Well, I'm happy you're happy. Really? But I think laughing in your ex's face was a much. You have to remember that he's a victim in this situation too. His mother manipulated him into divorce, and you, well, got him married to a gold digger. She cared more about her family's reputation than her own son's happiness. So, in my humble opinion, she's the real villain here. I'm not saying you should get back with your ex or even entertain his advances, but the way you treated him when he poured out his heart and soul to you and apologized for his actions was mean. At least you were able to escape, but guys, he's being forced to stay stuck in a loveless marriage just to appease his racist mom.
Guys, hardly anybody in the comment section agrees with that final comment. They're saying, what are you talking about? Why would you feel bad for the way OP treated her ex when her ex didn't feel bad for the way his own mother treated OP? I mean, it was ridiculous. But let me know, which side of this are you on? Are you on the commenter at the end that says OP went just a bit too hard on her ex? She should have put all her frustration on the mother-in-law. Or do you think, no, that mama's boy deserves it all? Guys, I have to hear your opinion. Drop it down below in the comment section. My name is Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every day. You can expect mother-in-law dramas, in-law dramas, inheritance dramas, even Karen in the wild. Have you ever been to a store and you see a complete Karen wilding out? Those are some of my favorite stories. If it's ever happened to you, drop your experience down below. Talk about whatever you want. A mother-in-law, today's story. Let's just talk about it. Guys, thank you once again. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.